Hannah jumped into action. How long until they reach us? 20 minutes. Maybe less. Can we outrun them? Not a chance. Their ships are faster. Orin Prime was beautiful. Tejo had not expected that dot through the ship's window. He could see the planet growing larger as they approached. It was mostly blue and purple, with swirling white clouds and sparkling oceans. Large landmasses of violet and green spread across the surface. It looked like a painting made by an artist with a wild imagination. Pretty, Una said softly, standing next to him. I always imagined the enemy homeworld would be dark and ugly, like something from a nightmare. They probably think the same about Earth, Tejo said. Lyra came to stand between them. She pressed her hand against the window, her dark eyes reflecting the light of her home planet. I was born there, she said, pointing to a spot on one of the landmasses. In the capital city. It is called Varun. It means heart in our language, because it is the heart of our empire. Is it beautiful? Una asked. Very beautiful. Tall towers that touch the clouds. Gardens that cover whole mountains. Rivers that sing when the wind blows through them. Lyra's voice was soft with memory. I miss it. I miss home. G.I.T.'s voice came from the pilot area. We are receiving landing instructions. They are telling us to go to the main palace landing zone. He paused. They are also telling us that if we try anything, they will blow us into dust. Friendly welcome, Dury muttered. Hannah moved to stand behind the pilot's seat. Follow their instructions exactly. No sudden moves. No surprises. We are guests here, whether they like it or not. The ship descended through the clouds of Orin Prime. Below them, the capital city of Varun came into view. Lyra had not lied about its beauty. The city spread across a wide valley surrounded by purple mountains. Tall silver towers rose toward the sky, connected by bridges that looked like threads of light. Gardens and parks filled the spaces between buildings, creating patches of green and blue and gold dot, and at the center of it all stood the palace. It was enormous, bigger than any building Tejo had ever seen. It looked like it had grown out of the ground itself, all smooth curves and flowing shapes. It was made of some kind of white stone that glowed softly in the sunlight. Hundreds of orange ships filled the sky around the palace. Military ships. They were not taking any chances with these human visitors. G.I.T. landed the ship on a wide platform in front of the palace. The moment they touched down, orange soldiers surrounded them. There were dozens of them, all wearing silver armor and carrying weapons that hummed with energy. Everyone stay calm, Hannah said. Lyra, you should go out first. Let them see you. Lyra nodded. She looked nervous but determined. Tejo put his hand on her shoulder. You will be fine, he said. Your mother is waiting for you. Lyra took a deep breath. Then she walked to the door of the ship. When it opened, bright light flooded in. She stepped out from inside the ship. Tejo could hear the reaction. Gasps. Shouts. The soldiers were recognizing their princess. He heard Lyra speaking in her own language, her voice clear and strong. After a few minutes, she appeared back at the door. Come, she said to the humans. They will not shoot. I have promised them you are friends. Tejo looked at his squad. They all looked scared, which was smart. Anyone who was not scared in this situation was a fool. Let me go first, Tejo said. No, Hannah said. We go together. All of us. We are a squad. We stand together. So they walked out together. All 6 of them, side by side. They stepped onto the platform, into the bright sunlight of Orin Prime, surrounded by enemy soldiers. The soldiers stared at them with cold eyes. Some of them pointed weapons. Others simply watched with hatred clear on their faces. To these Orin, the humans were monsters, killers, the enemy that had taken, So many of their loved ones. Te-Ho kept his hands visible at his sides. He did not look at the weapons. He looked at the faces instead. He wanted them to see that he was not afraid. He wanted them to see that he came in peace. Lyra walked between the humans and the soldiers. She was speaking quickly in her language, explaining, persuading. The soldiers listened, but they did not lower their weapons. Then a sound came from the palace. It was like a horn, deep and powerful. The soldiers immediately stepped back and formed two lines, creating a path from the ship to the palace doors. Someone was coming. Te-Ho watched as the palace doors opened. A group of Auran emerged. They were dressed in fine clothes, covered in jewels and decorations. Important people, advisors, nobles. They walked with the proud step of those who thought they were better than everyone else. Behind them came more soldiers, these ones wearing gold armor instead of silver. Urviu, the royal guard. They were tall and strong, the best warriors in the empire. And behind them, walking alone, came Queen Vila. Te-Ho had seen images of the queen before. In military briefings, in news reports, and propaganda posters that painted her as a monster. But those images had not prepared him for the real thing. She was tall, taller than any Auran he had seen. Her silver skin seemed to glow with an inner light. Her dark eyes were ancient and deep, holding thousands of years of wisdom and pain. She wore a simple dress of deep blue that flowed around her like water. On her head sat a thin circle of silver that was almost invisible. Her crown. She moved with the grace of someone who was born to rule. Every step was controlled. Every movement was deliberate. She carried herself like a weapon that could strike at any moment. And yet, underneath all that power and control, Te-Ho could see something else. Something breaking. The queen's eyes were fixed on her daughter. Only on her daughter. The rest of the world did not exist for her in that moment. All she could see was Lyra. Lyra started walking toward her mother. Then she was running. Then she was flying across the platform, her small legs moving as fast as they could. Mother. She cried. Queen Vela caught her daughter in her arms. She held her so tight it looked like she would never let go. Her tall body bent down, wrapping around Lyra like a shield against the entire universe. Te-Ho watched as the most powerful woman in the Auran Empire began to shake. Her shoulders trembled. Her breath came in short gasps. She was crying. The queen of an empire that spanned 1,000 worlds was crying like any other mother who had lost her child and found her again. The nobles and advisors looked shocked. Many of them had never seen their queen show any emotion at all. She was always cold, always strong, always in control. But now, in front of everyone, she was falling apart. Lyra was crying too. She held on to her mother and spoke in their language, words tumbling out of her. She was telling her everything. About the attack. About being lost. About the human who found her and saved her. Queen Vila listened. She stroked her daughter's hair. She whispered things that no one else could hear. For a long moment, there was nothing but a mother and her child, reunited after what must have seemed like forever. Then the queen looked up. Her eyes found Te-Ho. He felt the weight of that look like a physical force. It pressed against him, testing him, measuring him. He stood his ground and met her gaze. The queen gently released Lyra. She stood up to her full height, towering over everyone around her. She walked toward the humans, each step deliberate and slow. The soldiers shifted nervously. The nobles held their breath. No one knew what was going to happen. Queen Vila stopped in front of Te-Ho. She was so close he could see every detail of her face. The thin lines around her eyes. The silver of her skin. The way her chest moved as she breathed. "You," she said. Her voice was deep and musical, and she spoke in the human language. You are the one who saved my daughter." Teho nodded. "Yes. Why?" It was the same question Lyra had asked. Teho gave the same answer. Because someone should. The queen studied him. Her eyes moved over his face, looking for something. Looking for lies, maybe. Or tricks. Or hidden plans. "Your people and my people have been at war for 30 years, she said. "Millions have died on both sides. We have burned your cities. You have destroyed our stations. There is so much blood between us that the stars themselves have turned red." She paused. "And yet you saved my child. You brought her home. You risked your life for an enemy." "She is not my enemy," Teho said. "She is a child. A child who was scared and hurt and alone. I did not see an enemy. I saw someone who needed help. And what if it had been anyone else? What if it had been any Oran child, not the daughter of a queen? Would you have done the same?" "Yes." The queen tilted her head. "You are either very brave or very stupid. Perhaps both. I have been told that before." Something flickered in the queen's eyes. It might have been amusement. Or it might have been something else. She turned to look at the rest of the humans. Her gaze moved over Hana, over Dori, over Jisoo, Yuna, and Ji-Ite. She studied each of them in turn. "You all came," she said. "All of you risked your lives for this mission. For a child that was not your own. For an enemy that has killed so many of your kind." Hannah stepped forward. "With respect, Your Majesty, she stopped being an enemy the moment we saw her crying in the ruins. She became a child. Our child, in a way. We could not abandon her." "Your child?" The queen raised an eyebrow. "For 12 days, we fed her. We protected her. We taught her our language, and she taught us her smile. She's part of our family now, even if that family only lasted a few weeks. Family is not always about blood. Sometimes it is about choice." The queen was silent for a long. The morning sun of Oran Prime was softer than Earth's sun. It cast a purple glow across the sky, making everything look like a dream. Teho stood at his window and watched the city of Varin wake up. Ships flew between the towers. People walked on the streets far below. Life went on, even in the middle of a war. There was a knock at his door. When he opened it, he found an orange servant standing there. The servant was short and thin, with nervous eyes. "The queen requests your presence," the servant said in careful human words. "All of you. In the throne room, now." Teho gathered with the rest of his squad in the hallway. They all looked tired. None of them had slept well. How could anyone sleep well when they were surrounded by enemies? Hana straightened her uniform. "Whatever happens," she said quietly, "we face it with dignity. We are soldiers of Earth. We do not beg. We do not cry. We stand tall." Everyone nodded. Even Ji-Ite, who usually had a joke for every situation, was serious now. They followed the servant through the palace. The hallways were wide and tall, made of the same white stone as the outside. Strange art hung on the walls. Paintings of Oran history. Statues of heroes and queens. Everything was old and beautiful and full of meaning that the humans could not understand. Finally, they reached the throne room. It was the largest room Teho had ever seen. The ceiling was so high it seemed to touch the sky. Pillars of silver lined the walls, each one carved with symbols and pictures. At the far end of the room sat a throne made of crystal that caught the light and turned it into rainbows. And on that throne sat Queen Vila. She was dressed differently today. Gone was the simple blue dress. Now she wore robes of deep purple and gold, heavy with meaning and tradition. Her crown was different too. It was larger, more elaborate, covered with gems that glowed like tiny stars. She looked every bit the ruler of an empire. The room was full of Oran, nobles in fine clothes. military officers in uniform, advisors with worried faces. They all watched as the humans walked toward the throne. Many of them looked angry. Some looked disgusted. A few looked curious. Lyra was there too, standing beside her mother's throne. She wore a beautiful dress of silver and white. She looked like a princess now, not like the scared, dirty child Taeho had found in the ruins. When she saw him, she smiled. It was a small smile, but it made Taeho feel a little better. The humans stopped at a respectful distance from the throne. They stood in a line, with Hana at the center. They waited. Queen Vela looked at them for a long moment. Her face showed nothing. Then she spoke, her voice filling the huge room. Last night, I did not sleep. I sat with my daughter and listened to her story. She told me everything. How she was traveling with her guards to a safe planet. How the human attack came without warning. How her guards died protecting her. How she ran and hid in the ruins, alone and scared. The queen paused. Her voice was controlled, but Taeho could hear the emotion underneath. She told me how she waited in the darkness, certain that she would die. She told me how a human soldier found her. How he pointed his weapon at her. How she thought her life was over. The room was completely silent. Everyone was listening. And then she told me what happened next. The soldier lowered his weapon. He bandaged her wound. He gave her food and water. He carried her to safety. He protected her from his own people. He decided to bring her home, even though it meant risking his life and the lives of his squad. Queen Vela stood up from her throne. She walked down the steps slowly, her robes flowing behind her. The nobles and officers stepped back to make room for her. She walked until she stood directly in front of the humans. Her eyes moved over each of them, one by one. For 30 years, I have hated your kind, she said. I have called you monsters, beasts, animals without souls. I have ordered attacks that killed millions of your people. I have celebrated your defeats and mourned your victories. I have told myself that you were nothing more than a disease that needed to be removed from the galaxy. She stopped in front of Taeho. And then you saved my daughter. You showed her kindness when you had no reason to. You risked everything for a child who was nothing to you. A child whose people have killed so many of yours. Taeho did not speak. He did not know what to say. The queen reached out and touched his face with her long silver fingers. Her touch was cool and gentle. I have lived for 400 years, she said softly. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have fought in wars that lasted centuries. I have learned that the universe is cruel and that kindness is weakness. She paused. But you have taught me something new. Something I had forgotten. You have taught me that kindness can be the greatest strength of all. She stepped back and turned to face the room. Her voice grew louder, carrying to every corner. These humans came to our world expecting to die. They knew the risk. They came anyway. They brought my daughter back to me when they could have used her as a weapon. They showed mercy when none was required. The queen raised her hand. The room fell even more silent, if that was possible. I have made many mistakes in my long life. The greatest mistake was believing that all humans were the same. That none of them could be trusted. That none of them could be good. She turned back to Taeho. I was wrong. And then, to the shock of everyone in the room, Queen Vela went to her knees. She knelt before Taeho, her head bowed. Her robes spreading around her on the floor. The room exploded with gasps and whispers. No one had ever seen the queen kneel. Not in 400 years. Not before anyone. The queen kneeled to no one. It was one of the most sacred laws of the Oran Empire. But she was kneeling now. Before a human. Before an enemy. Taeho did not know what to do. He looked at Hana, but she looked just as shocked as he felt. He looked at Lyra, and she was crying, tears streaming down her silver face. Your Majesty, Tejo said, his voice rough. Please stand. You do not need to do this. I need to do exactly this, the Queen said, still kneeling. This is not weakness. This is strength. The strength to admit when I was wrong. The strength to honor those who deserve honor. She looked up at him. You gave me back my daughter. You gave me back my heart. I can never repay that debt. But I can start by showing you the respect you deserve. She rose to her feet, but she did not step back. She stood close to Tejo, looking into his eyes. I want to know something, she said. When you found my daughter, when you saw her crying and scared, what did you think? What went through your mind? Tejo thought back to that moment. The smoke. The ruins. The small silver figure curled up in the darkness. I thought of my own mother, he said honestly. I thought about how she would feel if I was lost and scared. I thought about how any mother would feel. Oran or human. It does not matter. A parent's love is the same everywhere. Queen Vila closed her eyes. A single tear rolled down her cheek. A parent's love is the same everywhere, she repeated. Yes, it is. She opened her eyes and looked at the rest of the humans. You are heroes, she said. All of you. Not because you are strong or brave, though you are both, but because you are good. Because when you could have chosen hatred, you chose kindness. When you could have chosen war, you chose peace. She turned to face her court. I am making a declaration, she announced. Her voice was strong and clear. From this moment forward, these humans are friends of the Oran Empire. They are under my protection. Anyone who harms them will answer to me personally. The nobles and officers looked at each other. Some of them seemed angry. Others seemed confused. But no one dared to object. Furthermore, the Queen continued, I am ordering an immediate ceasefire with the human forces. All military actions are to stop immediately. No more attacks. No more deaths. Now the room really exploded. Voices rose in protest. Officers shouted questions. Nobles demanded explanations. The Queen raised her hand and silence fell again. I know you have questions. I know many of you disagree. But I have seen something today that has changed everything I believe. I have seen proof that peace is possible. That humans and Oran can coexist. She looked at Tejo. This soldier showed me what humanity truly is. Not the monsters we see on the battlefield, but people who love their families. People who protect the innocent. People who are not so different from us. Lyra stepped forward. A small voice rang out in the great room. Mother is right, she said. I spent 12 days with these humans. They were kind to me. They fed me. They taught me their language. They made me laugh when I was scared. They are not monsters. They are good people who want the same things we want. Safety, peace, a future for their children. The room was quiet as the princess spoke. Many of the Oran had never heard her speak in public before. The war has gone on too long, Lyra continued. So many have died. For what? For nothing. For pride. For hatred that makes no sense. She walked to Tejo and took his hand. This man saved my life. His squad risked everything to bring me home. If that is not proof that peace is possible, then nothing is. Queen Vela looked at her daughter with pride shining in her eyes. Then she looked at her court. My decision is final. The ceasefire begins now. Tomorrow, we will open communications with the human leadership. We will begin peace talks. She paused. 30 years of war ends today. His vote. The room was silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Then, slowly, one of the officers stepped forward. He was old, with gray hair and scars on his face from many battles. I have fought the humans for 60 years, He said that the news spread across the galaxy like fire. Queen Vela of the Auran Empire had declared a ceasefire. She was calling for peace talks. The war that had lasted 30 years might finally be ending. On Earth, the reaction was mixed. Some people celebrated in the streets. They were tired of war, tired of sending their children to die on distant planets. They wanted peace more than anything. Others were angry. They demanded to know why the Queen had suddenly changed her mind. They did not trust the Auran. They remembered the cities that had been bombed, the families that had been destroyed. They wanted revenge, not peace. And everyone wanted to know about the humans who had made it happen. The soldier who saved the Auran princess. The squad that had traveled to the heart of the enemy empire. Te-Ho watched the news reports on a screen in the palace. His face was everywhere. They were calling him the peace soldier, the man who changed everything. He did not like it. "You look uncomfortable," Pana said, sitting down next to him. "I did not do this for fame. I did not want to become famous. Too late for that. You are a hero now, whether you like it or not." "I am not a hero. I just did what anyone should have done." Hannah shook her head. "That is what makes you a hero. Real heroes do not think of themselves as heroes. They just do what is right and let others decide what to call them." 2 weeks passed. The peace talks began. Human leaders traveled to Auran Prime to meet with Queen Vela. There were arguments and disagreements. Old wounds were hard to heal. But slowly, carefully, progress was made. Te-Ho and his squad stayed on Auran Prime as guests of the Queen. They were treated like royalty. They had the best rooms, the best food, the best of everything. But Te-Ho spent most of his time with Lyra. She showed him her world. She took him to the gardens that covered entire mountains, where flowers bloomed in colors he had never seen. She took him to the rivers that made music when the wind blew through them. She took him to the great libraries where the history of the Auran Empire was stored in crystals that held memories instead of words. "This one is my favorite," Lyra said, holding up a small crystal. "It contains the memories of the first Auran queen. She lived 10,000 years ago. When you hold it, you can see what she saw, feel what she felt." Te-Ho held the crystal carefully. Images flooded his mind. A young woman standing on a cliff, looking out at an empty world. A vision of towers and cities and gardens. A dream of an empire that would span the stars. She was alone, Te-Ho said softly. She had a vision that no one else believed in. But she built it anyway. Yes, she built it from nothing. From hope and determination and the refusal to give up. Lyra took the crystal back. "Mother says I remind her of the first queen. She says I have the same stubbornness. I believe it." Lyra laughed. It was a beautiful sound, like silver bells ringing. The peace talks continued. After a month, an agreement was reached. Both sides would stop fighting. Prisoners would be released. Borders would be established. Trade would begin. It was not perfect. Many issues remained unresolved. But it was a start. The day the treaty was signed was declared a holiday on both Auran Prime and Earth. People celebrated. Children played in the streets without fear of bombs falling from the sky. Families who had been separated by the war began the long process of finding each other again. Queen Vela gave a speech that was broadcast across the galaxy. "For 30 years, we have been at war," she said. "For 30 years, we have lost sons and daughters, mothers and fathers, friends and lovers. We have shed enough blood to fill oceans. We have cried enough tears to create new rivers." She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice was softer. "But today, we choose a different path. Not because we are weak, not because we are tired, but because we are wise enough to see that war brings nothing but more war. Hatred brings nothing but more hatred. The cycle only ends when someone is brave enough to break it." She looked directly into the camera. A human soldier broke that cycle. He found my daughter, lost and scared in the ruins of a battlefield. He could have ignored her. He could have hurt her. He could have used her as a weapon against my empire. Instead, he chose kindness. He chose mercy. He chose to see not an enemy, but a child. Our voice grew stronger. His name is Tejo. Remember that name, because Tejo showed us all what humanity truly is. Not the warriors we feared, not the monsters we imagined, but people like us. People who love their families. People who protect the innocent. People who want nothing more than to live in peace. She raised her hand. Today, we sign a treaty. But a treaty is just paper. What truly matters is what is in our hearts. We must choose to see each other as friends, not enemies. As partners, not rivals. As beings who share this galaxy and must learn to share it in peace. She looked down at something off camera. When she looked up again, there were tears in her eyes. My daughter taught me something. She told me that on the human ship, they taught her a word she had never heard before. Choose. She said she liked that word, because it means that our future is not written. We can choose what we become. We can choose hatred or love, war or peace, death or life. She smiled through her tears. Today, I choose peace. I hope you will choose it too. The speech ended. Across the galaxy, billions of beings sat in silence, thinking about what they had heard. Some of them still hated. Some of them still feared. But many of them, perhaps most of them, began to hope. 3 months after the treaty was signed, Tejo prepared to return to Earth. He had been promoted to captain. His entire squad had been promoted. They were heroes, honored by both sides of the former war. But leaving was hard. Lyra found him packing in his room. She stood in the doorway, watching him with her large, dark eyes. "You are leaving," she said. "I have to. Earth is my home. My mother is waiting for me. I know." She walked into the room and sat on the bed. "I will miss you. I will miss you too, Lyra. More than you know. Will you come back? To visit?" Tejo smiled. "Every year. I promise. Now that we have peace, I can come as often as I want." Lyra reached into her pocket and pulled out a small crystal. It was pale blue, glowing softly in her hand. "This is for you," she said. "A memory crystal. I recorded my memories of our time together. When you miss me, you can hold this and remember." Tejo took the crystal carefully. It was warm in his hand, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. "Thank you, Lyra. I will keep it always." She hugged him tight. "Thank you for saving me. Thank you for everything. Thank you for showing me that peace is possible." Queen Vela came to see him off at the landing platform. She was alone, without her guards or advisors. Just a mother saying goodbye to the man who had saved her daughter. "Captain Tejo," she said. "How formal that sounds." "Your Majesty," Tejo replied with a slight bow. "Please, call me Vala. You have earned that right. Vala, then." The name felt strange on his tongue, but good. "I have something for you," she said. She held out a small box. Inside was a medallion made of silver and gold, shaped like a star. "This is the Star of Vila," she explained. "It is the highest honor in the Aran Empire. Only 12 beings have ever received it in our 10,000-year history. You are the 13th, and the first human." Tejo looked at the medallion. It was beautiful, intricate, covered with symbols he did not understand. "I do not deserve this," he said. "You deserve far more than this. But this is all I can give." She closed the box and pressed it into his hands. "Take it. Wear it. Let it remind you of what you accomplished. Let it remind you that one person can change everything." Tejo looked into her ancient eyes. May I ask you something? Anything. When you kneeled before me in the throne room, you said it was not weakness. But was it not? A queen kneeling before a common soldier? Vila smiled. It transformed her face, making her look almost young. Power is not about standing above others, she said. True power is knowing when to bow. When I kneeled before you, I showed my people that humility is strength. That admitting when you're wrong is not weakness, but wisdom. That honor matters more than pride. She placed her hand on his shoulder. You taught me that, Taiho. A common soldier, as you call yourself, taught a 400-year-old queen something she had forgotten. Never underestimate your own importance. Never believe that you are ordinary, because you are not. You are extraordinary. The ship was ready. The squad was waiting. It was time to go. Double quotes. Goodbye, Vela. Thank you for everything. Goodbye, Tejo. Until we meet again. He walked up the ramp and into the ship. Through the window, he could see Lyra running to stand beside her mother. They both waved as the ship lifted off. The ship rose through the clouds of Arn Prime. Through the window, Tejo watched the beautiful planet growing smaller and smaller. The purple mountains, the silver towers, the glowing palace. Then they were in space, surrounded by stars. Hana came and sat beside him. How do you feel? Strange, happy, sad, everything at once. You did something amazing, Tejo. You ended a war. You saved millions of lives. You changed history. We did it together. All of us. But it started with you. With a decision you made in a ruined building on a planet no one cared about. You chose kindness when you could have chosen hate. You chose life when you could have chosen death. The sky was burning. Tejo could see the orange flames rising from the destroyed buildings all around him. The sound of weapons firing filled the air. Explosions shook the ground under his boots. This was war, and war was ugly. Sergeant Tejo had been fighting for 3 years now. 3 long years against the Oran Empire. The Oran were tall beings with silver skin and large dark eyes. They came from a world far away, and they believed humans were nothing more than animals. Dangerous animals that needed to be controlled or destroyed. Te-Ho did not hate them. He was too tired to hate anyone anymore. He just wanted to survive. He wanted to go home to Earth. He wanted to see his mother again and eat her cooking. He wanted to sleep in a real bed and forget about all the death he had seen. But today was not that day. Today, he was on a planet called Myra 7. It was a small world that both sides wanted to control. The fighting had been going on for weeks. Most of the buildings were destroyed now. The people who lived here had run away long ago. Tejo moved through the ruins with his weapon ready. His squad was somewhere behind him. Lieutenant Hana had ordered them to search the eastern part of the outpost. They were looking for enemy soldiers who might be hiding. The smoke made it hard to see. Tejo's eyes were burning, but he kept moving. He stepped over broken pieces of metal and stone. He passed bodies on the ground. Some were human. Some were Oran. In death, they all looked the same. Just empty shells that used to hold life. Then he heard something. It was a small sound, like a cry, but very quiet. Tejo stopped walking and listened carefully. The sound came again. It was coming from a destroyed building on his left. He should call for backup. That was what the rules said. Never go into an unknown area alone. But something about that sound made him move forward. It did not sound like an enemy soldier. It sounded like something else. Tejo climbed over a broken wall and entered what was left of the building. Most of the roof had fallen down. Dust and smoke filled the space. He moved his weapon slowly from side to side, checking every corner. The sound came again. Closer now. It was coming from behind a large piece of fallen metal. Tejo moved around the metal slowly. His heart was beating fast. His finger was on the trigger of his weapon. He was ready for anything, but he was not ready for what he found. Behind the metal, there was a small figure curled up on the ground. It was a child, an Auran child. She had silver skin like all Auran, but her skin was dirty with dust and blood. Her large dark eyes looked up at Tejo with fear. She was shaking. Her clothes were torn, and there was a wound on her arm that was bleeding. She could not be more than 8 or 9 years old in human age. Maybe younger. Tejo did not know exactly how Auran aged. The child opened her mouth and made a scared sound. She tried to move away from him, but she was too weak. Her back pressed against the wall, and she had nowhere to go. Te-Ho stood there for a long moment. His weapon was pointed at a child. An enemy child, yes, but still a child. She was hurt and scared and alone. He lowered his weapon. The child watched him with wide eyes. She did not understand why he was not shooting. All her life, she had been told that humans were monsters. They killed without mercy. They enjoyed causing pain. That was what everyone in the Auran Empire believed. Te-Ho slowly put his weapon down on the ground. He held up his empty hands so she could see them. Then he spoke in a soft voice. "It is okay," he said. "I will not hurt you." She did not understand his words. Auran and humans did not speak the same language, but she understood his tone. She understood the gentle look in his eyes. She was still scared, but she stopped trying to move away. Tejo looked at the wound on her arm. It was not too deep, but it needed to be cleaned and covered. He slowly reached into his bag and took out his medical kit. The child watched every move he made. He showed her the bandage in his hand. Then he pointed at her arm. "I want to help," he said. "Your arm is hurt. Let me fix it." The child looked at the bandage. She looked at his face. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, very slowly, she held out her injured arm toward him. Tejo moved carefully. He cleaned the wound with water from his bottle. The child made a small sound of pain, but she did not pull away. Then he put medicine on the wound and wrapped the bandage around her arm. When he was done, the child looked at her arm. She looked at Tejo. There was confusion in her eyes. Why would a human help her? It did not make sense. Outside, the sound of weapons firing was getting closer. Tejo knew he had to move. He could not stay here, but he could not leave the child either. If the fighting reached this area, she would die. He held out his hand to her. "Come with me," he said. "I will take you somewhere safe." The child did not move at first. She was still scared, but she was also smart enough to know that she could not survive alone. After a moment, she put her small silver hand in his. Her hand was cold. Auran had lower body temperature than humans. Tejo held her hand gently and helped her stand up. She was weak, and her legs were shaking, but she managed to walk. Tejo picked up his weapon with his other hand. He led the child out of the destroyed building and into the smoke-filled street. They moved slowly because she could not walk fast. His radio made a sound. It was Hannah's voice. "Tejo, where are you? Report your position." Tejo pressed the button on his radio. "I am in Sector 7. I found something." "A child." There was silence for a moment. Then Hannah spoke again. "A human child?" "No, Auran." Another long silence. "Leave it. We have orders to move forward. The enemy is retreating, and we need to push." Tejo looked down at the child holding his hand. She looked up at him with her big dark eyes. She did not understand what was being said, but she could feel his hesitation. "I cannot leave her," Tejo said into the radio. "She is just a child. She will die if I leave her here." "She is the enemy," Hannah said. Her voice was hard. "Her people have killed thousands of our soldiers. Her people bombed our cities. Do not forget that. She did not do those things. She is a child. Taho, I am bringing her with me. I will take responsibility. He turned off his radio before Hana could argue more. Then he looked at the child and gave her a small smile. Let us go, he said. Stay close to me. They moved through the ruins together. Taho kept his weapon ready in one hand while holding the child's hand with the other. Every time there was a loud explosion, she would grab his hand tighter. Every time she stumbled, he would help her stand. They passed more bodies. Taho tried to move around them so the child would not see, but there were too many. She saw them. Her face became pale, even for an Oran, but she did not cry. She was stronger than she looked. After 20 minutes of walking, they reached the area where the rest of the squad was waiting. There were 5 other soldiers there. They all turned to look when Taho appeared with the child. Private Jisoo was the first to speak. What is that? He asked, pointing at the child. She is a survivor, Taho said. I found her hiding in a destroyed building. It is an Oran, said Corporal Dury. His face was angry. Why did you bring it here? We should kill it. She, Taho said firmly. She is a she, not an it. And we are not going to kill a child. Lieutenant Hana walked over. She was a tall woman with short hair and cold eyes. She had been fighting even longer than Taho. The war had made her hard. She looked at the child for a long moment. The child looked back at her. There was no fear in the child's eyes now. Just a strange calm. Do you know what you have done? Hana asked Taho quietly. I saved a life. You saved an enemy life. If command finds out, let them find out. I am not going to let a child die just because she was born on the wrong side of this war. Hana stared at him. Then she let out a long breath. You always were too soft, she said. But there was something in her voice that was not quite angry. Maybe it was respect. Maybe it was something else. She turned to the rest of the squad. No one speaks of this. The child stays with us until we figure out what to do with her. Understood? The soldiers nodded. Some of them still looked unhappy, but no one argued with Lieutenant Hana. Taho felt the child squeeze his hand. He looked down at her. She was looking at Hana with curious eyes. Then she looked up at Taho and said something in her own language. Her voice was soft and musical, like water flowing over stones. Taho did not understand the words, but he understood the meaning. She was saying thank you. He smiled at her. You are welcome, he said. That night, they made camp in a building that was still mostly standing. The fighting had moved to another part of the planet. For now, they were safe. Taho shared his food with the child. She ate slowly at first, not sure if she could trust human food. But she was hungry, and soon she was eating faster. The food was not good, just military rations, but she seemed grateful for it. Private Yuna, the only other woman in the squad besides Hana, came and sat next to them. She had a kind face and gentle eyes. She held out a piece of chocolate to the child. The child looked at it with confusion. She had never seen chocolate before. It is sweet, Yuna said. Try it. The child carefully took the chocolate and put a small piece in her mouth. Her eyes went wide with surprise. Then she smiled. It was the first time Taho had seen her smile. I think she likes it, Yuna said with a laugh. Taho watched the child eat the chocolate. In that moment, she did not look like an enemy. She just looked like a child enjoying a sweet treat. Just like an... 3 days passed since Taho found the child. In those 3 days, many things happened. First, they learned her name. It took time because she did not speak their language, and they did not speak hers. But Yuna was patient. She pointed at herself and said her name. Then she pointed at Taho and said his name. Then she pointed at the child. The child understood. She placed her hand on her chest and said a word that sounded like Lyra. Lyra, It was a pretty Ming. It suited her. Second, they learned that Lyra was important. On the second day, Jisoo was checking the enemy communications using his equipment. He heard something that made his face go white. "The Arn are going crazy," he said. "They are searching everywhere for someone. A child. The daughter of their queen." Everyone in the squad looked at Lyra. She was sitting in the corner, playing with some small stones she had found. She did not notice their stares. "Are you saying," Hana said slowly, "that we have the Arn princess?" Jisoo nodded. "They are offering anything for her return. Anything at all. The queen has ordered every ship to search for her." Dory laughed, but it was not a happy laugh. "This is perfect. We can use her. Trade her for something big. Maybe even end the war." Taeho felt anger rise in his chest. "She is not a thing to be traded. She is a weapon," Dory said. "The best weapon we have ever had. Her mother will give us anything to get her back." I said no. Dory stood up and walked toward Taeho. He was a big man, tall and strong. "You do not give orders here, Sergeant. Lieutenant Hana does." Everyone looked at Hana. She was sitting against the wall, thinking. Her face showed nothing of what she was feeling inside. Finally, she spoke. "For now, we do nothing. We need to get off this planet first. Once we reach our ship, we can decide what to do." It was not the answer Taeho wanted, but it was not the answer Dory wanted either. That made it fair, in a way. On the third day, they started moving toward the extraction point. It was a long walk through dangerous territory. The Orn were still searching for Lyra, which meant there were enemy ships flying overhead all the time. Lyra walked beside Taeho. She was stronger now. The food and rest had helped her recover. Her arm was healing well too. She did not hold his hand anymore, but she stayed close to him always. She was learning words. Human words. Taeho would point at things and say the word, and she would repeat it. Sky, ground, water, tree. She learned fast. Her pronunciation was strange because her mouth was shaped differently than a human mouth. But Taeho could understand her. One night when they were resting in a small cave, Lyra spoke her first full sentence in the human language. "You," she said, pointing at Taeho. "Good." Taeho smiled. "You are good too, Lyra." She shook her head. "Orin say humans bad. Orin say humans kill all." She struggled with the words. "But you not bad? You? Help me. Not all humans are good," Taeho said honestly. "And not all Orin are bad. War makes everyone do terrible things. But we can choose to be different." Lyra thought about this for a long time. Then she nodded slowly. "Choose," she repeated. "I like this word." On the fourth day, they finally reached the extraction point. A small human ship was waiting for them. It was hidden under a covering that made it look like rocks. The pilot was a young man named G.I. He looked surprised when he saw Lyra. "What is that?" he asked. "She is coming with us," Taeho said. His voice made it clear that this was not open for discussion. Gi-Tae looked at Hana. She nodded. So Gi-Tae said nothing more and let them all board the ship. The inside of the ship was small and crowded with 7 people and all their equipment. Lyra had never been on a human ship before. She looked around with wide eyes, touching the walls and the seats. "Different from Orange ship," she said to Taeho. "Orange ship more cold, this warm." Taeho understood what she meant. Human ships were designed for comfort as well as function. They had soft lights and warm colors. Orange ships, from what he had seen, were all gray metal and harsh white lights. The ship took off and flew up through the clouds. Through the window, Lyra watched the planet getting smaller and smaller. Then they were in space, surrounded by stars. Pretty, Lyra whispered. Taiho sat down next to her. Where is your home? He asked. Where do you live? Lyra pointed out the window toward a direction that meant nothing to Taiho. Far, she said. Very far? Orin Prime, home of Queen. She paused. Home of Mother. Your mother is the Queen? Lyra nodded. There was sadness in her eyes. Mother always busy, always working. But she loved me. She'd tell me every night before sleep. She touched her chest. I feel it. Here. Taiho's heart hurt for her. This child had been separated from her mother in the middle of a war. The Queen, whoever she was, must be going mad with worry. He made another decision then. The most important decision of his life. I will take you home, he said. Lyra looked at him with shock. 1. I will take you back to your mother. You should not be here, in the middle of war. You should be home, safe, with your family. But Lyra shook her head. Orin kill you. If you go to Orin space, they kill you. Maybe, but I have to try. Hannah had been listening. She walked over and stood in front of Taiho. Her arms were crossed. You have lost your mind, she said. Maybe, Taiho admitted. But I am going to do this. She is a child, Hannah. A child who misses her mother. I cannot take her back to Earth as a prisoner. I cannot let Command use her as a weapon. The only right thing to do is return her home. They will kill you the moment you enter their space. Then they kill me. But at least I will die doing something good. Something that matters. The ship was quiet. Everyone was listening now. Duri looked angry. Jisoo looked worried. Yuna looked like she might cry. Itae spoke from the pilot's seat. The man is right. She is just a kid. Using her as a bargaining chip. That is not who we are. That is not who we should be. Hannah closed her eyes. She stood there for a long moment, not moving, not speaking. Then she opened her eyes and let out a long breath. If we do this, she said slowly, we all do it together. I am not letting you die alone, you fool. Taiho stared at her. Hannah, do not make me say it again. She turned to the rest of the squad. Anyone who wants to leave can leave at the next station. No one will think less of you. This mission is suicide. Duri shook his head. I still think this is stupid. But I am not letting you idiots go without me. Someone needs to watch your backs. Jisoo raised his hand. I am in. Yuna smiled. Me too. Itae turned around in his seat. Well, I am the pilot, so I guess I am in whether I like it or not. He grinned. Lucky for you, I like it. Lyra did not understand all the words, but she understood enough. These humans, these strangers, were going to risk their lives to take her home. She felt tears forming in her eyes. Why? She asked Taiho. Why you do this? Taiho thought about the question. He thought about all the reasons he could give. Because it was right. Because she was innocent. Because he was tired of all the death and wanted to do something that brought life instead. But in the end, he gave a simpler answer. Because someone should. The journey to Orin space took 12 days. 12 long days of traveling through empty parts of the galaxy where no one would see them. They could not use the main routes because human military ships would stop them. They could not go too close to Orin territory because Orin patrol ships would destroy them. So they took the long way. The dangerous way. Through areas of space that were not on any map. During those 12 days, Lyra became part of the squad. She learned more words every day. She learned to play cards with Jisoo, even though she did not understand all the rules. She learned to tie knots from Dori, who was surprisingly patient with her. She learned songs from Yuna, who had a beautiful singing voice, and she learned about humans. She learned that they laughed a lot, even when things were bad. She learned that they shared their food and their stories freely. She learned that they argued sometimes, but always forgave each other. She learned that they were not the monsters she had been told about. One night, Lyra could not sleep. She found Tejo sitting alone in the small common area of the ship, looking out the window at the stars. She sat down next to him. "You not sleep?" she asked. "No, too many thoughts in my head." "What thoughts?" Tejo was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I am thinking about what will happen when we reach your home. I am thinking about your mother. What she will say. What she will do. Mother is strong," Lyra said, searching for the right words. "Mother is queen. She must be strong. But inside," she touched her chest. "Inside, she is soft. She love her people. She love me. Do you think she will listen? Or will she just attack our ship?" Lyra thought about this. "I do not know. Orin hate humans very much. The war has gone on very long. Many Orin died." She looked at Tejo. "But you save me. You bring me home. This is big thing. Mother will see. Mother will understand. I hope you are right." Lyra put her small hand on his arm. "I am right. I know my mother. She is angry often. She is proud. But she is not blind. She will see what you have done. She will see that humans can be good." Tejo smiled at her. This child had more wisdom than most adults he knew. "Thank you, Lyra. Thank you, Tejo, for everything." On the 10th day, they entered the outer edge of Orin space. Immediately, alarms started going off inside the ship. "We have been detected," GIT announced. 3 Orin patrol ships are changing course to intercept us.